Let me mention just a little bit about the ranch. Uh, we've talked about this a lot, so I don't know why. You probably heard me say anything I'm going to say. You probably heard it several times anyway. But there's a real history of this ranch. It was established way back in the early days. We had what they called the Homestead Act. It's still on the books, but they don't do much about it anymore. The government doesn't let you do much anymore. But it's an act where if there's government land government land that's owned by the government that's made available. It's just certain parts are made available, and this very little or none now, but there was, and this was part of it. Was the people could move into on that land and fill out paperwork, and then start to develop it. They had to develop it. They had to raise crops, they had to raise livestock, and had to put buildings on it, live on it, and take care of it. And then they could apply for what they called a homestead. And by paying a minimal amount of money, a few $100s, they could own whatever the number of acres of land that they were taking care of. And that's the way they obtained the ranch. That's the way it came into being, was by the Homestead Act. And in 1922, they filed for the homestead, this canyon here. My parents did. And my father did a lot of work. It was just bare country then. There had been a couple of families that tried to improve it, but it was a pretty rough go, and they gave up. And so my dad moved in and bought out the improvements they'd made, which is minimal, and everybody else was gone, and he and our mother took over on it and developed it, and it was a job. Where you drive across the river up by when you come down the ranch, 2 miles up the road, you drive across the river. At that point, if you noticed on the upper side of the road, there's a big concrete dam. That's fairly new, relatively new, like 50 years ago, which is new in the whole picture. But that's where the water came out of the creek into the ditch. And then we had a ditch, an open ditch that ran all the way down to here and on over past here and through that hill up here. It's a concrete hill. It gets down through a little bit of dirt. It's sandstone. And so they had to blast away through the sandstone to make the ditch on through the sandstone, and clear on around and clear on out down to clear almost that cliff on the far side over there, wherever there's land that's level enough to irrigate and farm. And so there's about 80 acres that were irrigating this whole canyon between here and where the water came out of the river. Most of it's sagebrush on up the way above now because it's not been irrigated for many years because there's no one here to take care of it. But there's a lot of work. If you look behind you, you can see that. You don't have to go right this minute. But be sure and do it before you go to bed. There's a level place up on the bank up there. That's the old ditch bank. The water came down around that point of the hill up there. There's a sandstone point out there. The water came around and came right along the top where it's level up there. And then right on around and across where it levels off, the lawn levels off here, the long one here. There's a creel and everything else stabled on up on here. And then ditch went on through and on out. And it had to follow all the way up and down around through the canyons and across and back down to make its way clear down. And so my father did have elaborate equipment back in those days to work with. He had a team of horses, a scraper, which you cousin saw up there the other day. Remember we talked about the scraper when I talked to you about the scraper that you pull behind a horse, and you can dig a ditch with that. You could pull that scraper with a team of horses and dig a ditch. And then whatever you didn't get with the scraper, you do the shovel with. Then he had the thing that was really high tech was a hand level. There's one hanging on the back of the house, not the same one. And what you could level it. So he had to use that to make a grade. So the ditch would slope just a little bit all the way down till the water would run downhill. Couldn't get the water to run the other direction, so he had to run it downhill. And so it just sloped a little bit. And then to the level, and then with the shovel and the team and scraper, he made that whole thing. And then he did it up where we call the old reservoir, about half a mile down from the dam. He put a big old wooden flume across the river, then made another creek ditch on the other side and ran water over and down the other side and irrigated both sides. Well, this could go on all night if we keep going like this, so we better move along. My parents had 6 children. My mother had been married before. She had a husband that died in the international flu epidemic of 18 and 19. And her first husband died in that flu epidemic. Then she married my father, David Foote, a couple of years after that. She had two children by the first marriage and four sons by the last. And what I'm getting to is that all of us, as soon as we got out of high school, and we did make it, we made it out of high school, all of us, left. We went on to school or in the military. We were back in Korean conflict when I graduated from high school. And so, but none of us stayed around on the ranch after we left high school. But none of us wanted to get rid of the ranch. We all were going to keep the ranch. And so we just did whatever we had to keep the ranch in the family all these years. And this has been a lot of years. And so we leased it out. There were people that run their own cows. Other people bring the cows in and take care of everything, do whatever they wanted to do. But over the years, then finally we came back and did it ourselves and tried to. And all you, Dave and Ray, and a lot of the teenagers, the other families, there were three brothers that kept in the family all that time, and our sister who was from the first family. Then when we finally came back and took it over, then Dave and Ray and other teenagers at that time would come down and move sprinkler pipes and do what we had to keep the thing growing and keep it green and do whatever we had to do to hang on to the ranch. The reason we did this was for you. We're now down at the end of the row. We've run the course. We saved the ranch for you, and we hope that you truly appreciate it. We think it's a wonderful place. When we come here, I feel something. There's more than just beautiful cliffs to me. I feel a spirit here that you don't feel anyplace else. And I feel strongly a lot of what we feel is the fact that a lot of people that have gone before have a lot of vested interest in the ranch. They're pulling for us. They're pulling for us. They want us to enjoy it. They want us to enjoy life. They're pleased that this is a focal point. I believe that this is a focal point for getting together and feeling love for each other. I've said this before, but the greatest happiness old folks can have is their posterity. And I feel that, and I appreciate that, because you're it. You're it, and the ones that have to claim it because you've already married into it, and there you are, you can't change it now. So enjoy the ranch. Enjoy the ranch. We love to share it. We love to have friends come down and enjoy the ranch with us, because we're proud, and proud in a proper way, of course. We wouldn't be proud any other way, of course. But I don't think I'll go any farther as far as talking, unless there's, if anything.
You tell the rattlesnake story.
Okay. You might think she's planted. How many have heard the rattlesnake story?
None of us.
Good story.
Once upon a time. This is dumb. You'll know why I mean when I get through. But when I was the age of some of you, and I've been the age of all of you, everyone I've been that age. Some of them twice. But when I was a teenager, I had a trap line down here. I trapped coyotes and bobcats, because back then I made a lot of money trapping bobcats and coyotes. There's a trap hanging in on the fireplace in here. That's about that long and has the jaws about that big. That's what you guys call it. It's a coyote trap. And back then the state would pay, get this, $6 a piece for each one of them. A cat or a bobcat or a coyote. And so I trapped them. And the problem was, the people that made money trapping, real professional trappers, which were a lot of them, and I wasn't one of them, but I was pretty proud, because I'd go to town, and once a month with what you had to do is cut off the face and to cut off the feet and take those with you. You had to turn those in to prove that you'd actually got that animal. And there would be 4 or 5 uptown men that would go in, and I was a teenager, I'd go in, and I usually had about a third of what they had or something each of them. But the one that really professional and made money at it would trap in the wintertime. I couldn't trap in the wintertime, because the only time I was down we lived here at this ranch in the summertime, and then when the wintertime, the ranch take care of the ranch, the whole family, it was a family project, And then we would move back to town. They insisted on this. They made us go back to town in the fall and go to school. We had a home in town and a little home down here, right down about where the fire pit is. In the wintertime, the animals, the fur was worth a lot of money. And so all I got was that bounty, where regular trappers would trap year round and they'd make their money in the wintertime. But anyhow, I'd do it because I got a little bit of money and I enjoyed it. I had traps, carp traps, strung all over the valley, all the canyon here, down for a couple of miles on down and up all around. They'd all be covered up under the ground so that nobody could see them. And every couple of days, I'd get on a horse and make the rounds and check all my traps. I had a .22 rifle I'd always carry, and if they had something in the trap, I'd kill it. One night, it was getting late in the evening, and it'd been a couple of days. I needed to check my traps. So I had a little buckskin Mustang mare, and I didn't stop to saddle up. I just jumped on her bareback, without a shirt, No, without a saddle, I mean. And it rode around. I go down here about a mile or so, and I'm coming up a side canyon. Just a side canyon had a big dry wash that came down to the river, and I heard a rattlesnake. And so I stopped the horse, looked around, and I could hear it, and I could see it. I could see the rattlesnake across the wash. So I thought, well, I've got my rifle, I'll take care of that. So I very quietly slipped off my horse, dropped down to the ground. What I didn't know was there were two rattlesnakes. And I came down right on top of the second rattlesnake. The horse is afraid of rattlesnakes anyway. That horse just bolted. The horse ran back home and swore it could go all the way and got here just barely after I did. That's the rattlesnake story. It's relatively true. Let me mention something else. When I was a little guy, I don't know how old, maybe I'd say 9 or 10 probably. And we had cattle, and that was part of the income. We raised most of what we ate. We'd have fresh fruit and vegetables all summer. Then mother would put up fruit and stuff in the fall, and we'd have bottled fruit and so forth all year long, and meat, bottled meat, canned meat. And so we'd sell the calves. We'd sell calves in the fall, so some income. We had, in addition to the cows, we had sheep. And we'd eat the sheep more than we'd the cows because the cows would sell for more, so we'd sell the cows and eat the sheep. And we'd eat both. But anyhow, the sheep could graze any place. They can eat rocks, but most people don't know that. But we'd graze them. If you look up on these cliffs, you can't tell here, but up there, look up if you can't see behind now, but up what we call Twin Hollow, up on the cliff up there, there's two levels. You can see it over here to some extent. There's the main cliff that goes up several hundred feet, and then there's a slope. It slopes a little bit, and goes. And you can climb up, and you can climb on up. Darrell goes up here up to Stevens Cut and goes out there all the time, and slopes out, goes up to the top, very top part. And we put the sheep up there between the very top part and where the very steep cliff is. There's a big brown strip goes around the top of this one. It's not the very top of these over here. That's called the temple cap for some reason. But the area between the brown strip, the temple cap, and the very top is where we'd have it's a slope. We'd have sheep up on the left-hand side. We'd go up around the point of ways and where they could climb out. They could go up and down the cliff and come and get water down and off the cliff, and then go out on top and eat. So one day my dad said, we got to go build a new fence. We're going to open up a new place, new range for sheep. And so I was a little guy, and I was excited to go with my dad. We got up our tools, went up and climbed out on top of that cliff up there behind you. And we're up on top, and I was playing most of the day. I didn't do much help, but my dad built the fence, went up and built the fence to the very top part, and down and ran the wire clear down to the bottom where we like. You can see the top up here. And I thought, well, how's he going to fix it? How's he going to fasten it on this end? Well, he had it all figured out, and there was a little stump sticking out of the side of the cliff, an old dead bush. And so he said, okay, I'm going to tie the wire from the fence down to that bush. And it was down about a foot or 18 inches or a foot. Well, it wouldn't be 18 inches, probably a foot, 8 or 10 inches or something from the top of the cliff, down from the top of the cliff. And so he said, no, but I can't lean out like that without falling off. So you got to hold me while I do it. So he got down and had the fence down. So I was holding onto the fence with one hand, and we grasped wrists with each other on the other hand. Then he took his other hand, and he said, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Yes." And he just leaned out over the cliff. Reached down, and it seemed like it took him forever. And he tied that wire to the stuff of the thing. He got back up. He got upper tools. Nothing else was said, really. I was just a conversation. Nothing was said about how scared I was or anything. And came home. And to me, at that day, I thought, my dad has trusted me with the more important thing he has, and that's his life. He trusted me with his life today. He didn't think about that, and I didn't think about it. Years later, a few years later, I was a teenager. My gosh. I realized then, when I was at home with my parents, and I'd go out and have fun with my friends, boys and girls, that they trusted me then with something more important than their lives. They trusted me with my life. And that would be my message to teenagers that realize that your life is more important to your parents than anything else that they have. Honor that. Honor it. I've thought about that a lot of times. In fact, I quite often think about it when I look and see that cliff up there. I think, this whole story in my life, the things that have happened to me, the importance of all of us, I think, I hope. We appreciate what you are. We truly do see you as the rising generation. We see you as the leadership of the church in the country in the future. We see you as the potential for what's good in the world. We honor you, we love you, we appreciate what we see in you and what you really are. And the parents, your parents have raised you right, and we truly appreciate what we see in you and all of you. We have a lot of faith in you and expect big things, and we're sure we're going to see it. Thank you for what you are, folks.